Welcome to the Empowered Team podcast. I'm your host, Kari Schneider, and I am so excited. We are bringing in John Martinka, and I have to say, I love this. I said this off the recording that the escape artist, you are known for creating large exits for small businesses. And I've come from a background of small business. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. So I'm so excited to hear about what your skill set is, what you offer, what you do, and your wisdom and expertise in this area. So John, welcome, and tell us a little bit more about yourself besides what I've said.
Okay. Well, so I've been in the small business, lower middle market, buy, sell, M&A space, whatever you want to call it, for about 30 years. Got into it through serendipity. I was in a small Rotary club, back-to-back presidents with a guy, and we hit it off. And a couple of years later, he just said something about, you'd be good in this business. And it was right timing. Life is timing.
How long ago was that?
That's in the mid 90s.
And was exiting businesses good at that time?
Well, the buy sell world is, it has its little ups and downs over time, but generally, it's pretty decent. If you take out very short term things like 9/11, the .com boom and bust was a pretty rocky time because the market feeds up, and you have to have people leaving the corporate world to buy a small business and turn it into something that then using their skills they've learned in the corporate world, turn it into something larger that more professional buyers, whether it's a holding company, family office, PE, or a strategic buyer, can buy. And it's built up to that size. So it has to feed. And if those people weren't leaving jobs, sort of put a crimp in the hose, the flow. Obviously the 2008, 9, whatever, Wall Street collapse, COVID. But otherwise, it goes along. Right now, as we record this, there's definitely uncertainty given everything coming out of DC. Tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs reduced. We're going to slap a new tariff on, or we're going to maybe not enforce that one.
Everybody's head is spinning at this point.
Yes.
So when I think of this time right now, and let's say the tariffs weren't causing spinning tops and spinning heads.
Yeah.
I think of so many baby boomers retiring and perhaps having built a small business or a medium-sized business that they might have thought would have gone to their family, and then perhaps their daughters or sons just are not interested in the business and they're looking to sell. Is that something that you see a lot of right now?
Yeah, we see a lot of it. We have seen for a while. I'll share that I've written 5 books on the subject. The latest one is Exit Risk Style, Grace and More Money. And I mentioned that the Wall Street Journal had published about how, just say roughly 70% of small, medium-sized businesses are going to turn over in the next 10 years. That was in 2007 or 8. And then you fast forward a few years in here, I have different sources. I've seen that all for the next 10 years, and they were still saying it. And, things got in the way, like the Great Recession, but the tsunami of owners saying, I want to get out, never hit. There wasn't this big flood. It has just been steady and bubbles. And a lot of people that get into start a business, it becomes their life. And they have to separate that. And it can be a tough thing to do. And
how do you help them do that?
Well, it's getting them to think and it's asking questions. So in the first chapter of our book, is pretty much all about the person and their involvement. And it's, have you talked to a financial advisor so that you don't go down the road and find out whatever I'm selling it for is 3/4 of what I need.
Mm,
And whether it's retirement or we use the term next great adventure in life,
hmm.
what are you going to do? Have you figured that out? Because a buyer's going to want to know. I don't care if it's an individual or private equity. They don't want to go into something and realize, well, he or she doesn't know what they want to do. That they're going to get sour remorse.
Hmm. Well, and then at the same time for the buyer, sometimes there's unique expectations where the buyer needs help in operations. And so there's this kind of overlap of maybe the seller is still working in the business for a period of time to help the new buyer transition. Do you see that happen?
Yeah, there usually has to be a transition period. It's rare when there's not. Someone with extreme industry experience or related experience and a seller who is pretty much absentee is different, but then they're going to want the management team to stay on.
Mm-hmm.
And what you talk about is one of the top things that owners need to watch out for. If you want to get paid less for your business, make sure you, the owner, are the business.
Yes.
So it's personal goodwill, not company goodwill.
So what are some of the top things that owners need to be aware of when they're looking to exit a business? What do they need to be aware of?
Well, they need to be aware of the things they should be doing and should have been doing for at least a few years. And that, getting themselves out of the business, the day-to-day operations of the business, delegating, uh, building a team. That's huge. It's on the top of just about every person who does any kind of exit work is make sure that owner is not the business. But here's the problem with that and the other things we're going to talk about. Well, while all the experts would say take 3 years, 5 years, I have a CPA who says 6 years, because if you have to make any entity changes, allow a year for those to happen. And sometimes there's a 5-year phase in if you shift entities.
Yeah.
Most owners do not get up one day and say, something's going on in my life. And, I'm needing to think about selling, and I'm going to raise the dimmer switch so their business is nice and bright and shiny for a buyer. They get up and say, that's the last straw. Flip the switch. Get me out of here. How soon can we sell it?
I love the analogy of flipping the switch or using the dimmer switch of making it more bright, because it's exactly that, to your point. It's the okay, I'm not transitioning out. That's it. I want out now. And it just doesn't work that way is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, well, it can work, but not at the same maybe not at the same value.
So what kind of increased value do you help owners get, and how do you do that? What are some of the things that are imperative in order for you to be able to get that extra value? One of the things is making sure that the owner is not the business, and then also that they've built a team. But what else has to happen in order for you to get more from the exit? Because from my understanding, which is one of the things that this podcast is about, is really optimization. So you're looking to optimize their exit. You're looking to help them get the most from it and have it be the best it can possibly be. Is that right?
That's what, that should be the goal. And there are a number of things that go into it. And I think if you talk to 10 different people who talk about value drivers in a business, you'll get a lot of overlap on all the 10 Venn diagrams of things. A big one is, really have to have good financial systems so your financial statements are accurate. I used the term, and I used it to someone earlier today, and I said, well, this company's got small business accounting. And he says, Oh, I completely understand. I've been looking for a nice term to talk about, about this because I said you can use it. It's not trademarked. But small business accounting means it's not always done the same way.
Mm,
Things don't go in the same categories or uh and when it's to an extreme, I got referred to a company. We met him. He gave us some financial statements, and I marked them up and scanned them and wrote hard copies. He gave me, of course, and wrote. The big thing I wrote was on your balance sheet. I wrote all these one section seemed to be income statement items, and I've seen balance sheet items on income statements, and then the CPA has more work to do.
yeah, yeah, and it's harder to actually project what the business can create in revenue, and it's hard for the buyer to really understand what they're looking to buy.
That's right. And then if they don't have faith in the financial statements, you be a nice business and a nice owner and there's trust. But if they can't make the numbers work, they're going to go find another one.
Um, we work a lot on with mindset with a lot of the high achievers that we work with. And what do you find either supports a great exit or what gets in the way when it comes to the owner's mindset?
Well, we talked about doing too much in the business, the day to day. Often it's my business is so special that you can't apply normal valuation methodologies to my business, which they're
Special
what they're
snowflake. It's the special snowflake.
it's a special one. Yeah, it's the whether you say it's the best thing since cold beer or since sliced bread or whatever. Oh, but it's so different. It's just worth more than what other businesses doing the same sales and profit would be worth.
Mm-hmm.
You see that every so often.
And how do you manage that? How do you respond to that?
It's a tough one because we're talking, you have to talk logic when they're talking emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, your business is special, but there are ranges. And if you look at, and I've done this, a number of years ago, it was the week of the 4th of July, and it was pretty slow. Whatever, I can't even remember what day the 4th was, but it was pretty slow. And an attorney called me. He says, I need a rush job on a report. I got a fraud case, and he wanted some, not related to his case, but to different size companies and what they sell for based on different earnings. And it's from small to mid-size to the private equity world. And there's not as good a comps as in real estate. You want to buy a house, there's all kinds of comps. But there's enough done deal stuff out there. And, I did the report and I said, here's what, these sizes and here's what it should be. These are the ranges. And the one thing that came out, and I did some more on my own time and said there are ranges, and you will look at these business by size stratas, and assuming you're not talking a SaaS business versus a retail business.
Yep.
But you take all manufacturing businesses, and let's just say that if it's a small business, say doing earnings of up to $1.5 million, generally the average multiple of earnings that they get is 4.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a coefficient of variance is like 25 or so percent, which means 3 to 5. If
Yep.
you go to a business making 2 million or 2.5 million, it may go up from 3 to 5 to 4 to 6. And I'm making these up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is pretty accurate from comps, but you go up to a business making 5 million and it could be, 8 to 10. And but
Mm-hmm.
the person who says, well, I'm making 300,000 a year or 500,000 a year, I should get that same 10 multiple as the company making 10 times as much. And it doesn't happen because there's more.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you find that when you're looking at retail, when you're looking at service or SaaS, what what are the benefits or drawbacks with the different categories of business? What are you finding? Maybe there's more of one lately than another. Like, what are the trends? What are you discovering with the different types of business?
It's all about risk and reward. So you take a retail business, and I don't care if they have, one store or three stores or whatever, they're low margin, and they're, you can, there's, they're also subject to consumers and whims and competing with Walmart. I mean, I don't know if you noticed it, but when the president was railing on Walmart and Target and others about you can't raise your prices because of my tariffs. You got to eat them. And the guy, one of the Walmart execs saying, look, we make like 3.2% a year. We can't absorb these tariffs. It's
Yeah,
a low margin business.
Yeah, there's no room.
SaaS has been the darling, and everyone wants that recurring revenue monthly, annually. Will it stick? Netflix seems to be pretty good at making it stick, but I've read a lot of stories over the last 10 years or so. People will sign up for a streaming service, binge watch, and then cancel it.
Yeah, and SaaS, for the listeners who don't know what SaaS is software as a service. And that does tend to be a trend that happens more and more because so many things are becoming more and more digital. Everything from our storing our photographs to, maybe even ordering certain products to the home. It's all being done by some sort of subscription plan or a software that's the communication form. So, but do you, with the business type that you particularly tend to work with, is it retail mostly? Is it or is
No,
there
it's B2B,
business?
mostly B2B operating businesses.
Yep.
We have one SaaS business in the queue. Well, we did bring in a strategic partner because they specialize in SaaS. But for the most part, my company works with operating businesses, manufacturing, distribution, service. Those are, tend to be good, solid businesses. You have a lot of buyers out there for small PE, even larger professional buyers who say, we want a business where AI can't take it over.
Okay, interesting. So go ahead.
It can't stock a shelf in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until
AI
the
can't
robot
move things from A to B.
until the robots can do it.
Yeah.
Unless if they're going to invest in the robots for the business.
Yeah. And then there's scale. I mean, your automakers have been using robots for years.
Yeah.
It moves down the line and here comes a robot. Weld. Next one. Weld. Same spots. No repetitive motion injuries.
What do you think that AI is going to do to medium or small size businesses?
I think I'm not an expert on it. Nobody really knows. I think it will have a less of an effect than it will on the big players. Cause if you've seen in the news someone from, was it the retail operation of Chase Bank to Amazon, Microsoft, others are saying AI is going to replace some of these jobs.
Well, they already have.
Yeah,
They've already made a lot of it. Yeah.
Replace a lot more. That I've read that programmers, they can now tell AI to, we want to program this to do that, and it can do it.
Yep.
It has to be double checked, but it can do it like that.
So when you bring together such a key combination of expertise, do you think AI will take over a role like yours?
I think it will supplement it. And I say that because we use a little bit of the Claude ChatGPT kind of things to ask questions. Used it yesterday or the day before to say, as a research expert, where would I find companies that sell into certain industries, suppliers, equipment suppliers? And it tells me, uh, gives me some companies. It says here's some trade associations, some publications. Here's how you maybe do a more refined LinkedIn or Google search for them. Boom, in like 15 seconds.
Yeah, you can optimize and speed up the efficiencies and potentially the effectiveness of what you do, which can be something that small businesses or medium-sized businesses adopt for their businesses as well.
My business, probably like yours,
Mm-hmm.
is relationship based.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't have a relationship with AI. And you can't ask AI to go talk to a potential buyer of your business or a potential client. You can't say, I'm going to have AI talk to you before I talk to you. They're going to say, thank you, goodbye.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that what's happening at this point is that I agree with you from the standpoint of I would rather have the human relationship, but what's happening now is that it can do that. Someone can phone it up and not know that it's AI because we're now at a standpoint, a space and time where humans can't tell the difference between some AI voices and AI. So to the human might think, the person might think that they are having a relationship with a specific salesperson, and really it's AI. And
Yeah,
that's a tough scenario. That's an ethical scenario.
I have a guest coming on my podcast in a few weeks who has a company that uses AI to provide customer service. They have the initial conversations and get enough information that a live person can then take over, or they can say that AI can say, this isn't for you.
Yes. Yeah. It filters the process. Isn't that interesting? Now, you wrote this book, Exit with Style, Grace, and More Money. And what prompted you? This isn't your first book. What prompted you to write this one?
Well, it's my fifth book. My daughter's been working with me. She contributed some to it. Uh, it it really shows expertise, and I, I've written a book before on basically getting ready for selling the business, and the title of it is "If they can sell pet rocks, why can't you sell your business for what you want?" And it goes over a lot of what you're talking about.
I love those titles.
But then it's really that's fine. But then people say, well, yeah, I really want to sell. I don't know if I want to take 3 years. Maybe I'll take 6 months. But here's the process. So the book goes through the process of thinking through it on your own, things to do for the company, things to watch out for, numbers, non-financials, talks about, there's one chapter, I think it's not a deal till the attorneys are done. And talks about everything that goes into that, marketing to find buy, it's just the process laid out. So they know what they're getting into. This is, too many people think buying or selling a business is like buying or selling a house. There's no less. There is an extreme fear of breached confidentiality.
Yeah, because they share all this information, and what if the person doesn't buy?
That, but more important, what if my employees find out?
Yeah.
My customers, my competitors, even suppliers find out? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
But people think the worst, the owner's selling the business, my job, even though what buyers at all levels are really buying are the people.
So on that note, because we've got AI coming into the mix, we've got people looking to sell businesses, and yet one of the most valuable assets of a company is the team, the systems, the people who are operating those things. Do you do you find that now it's harder and harder to find good people in those roles, just with different generations and different values of different generations? What are you seeing in your position?
It is harder to find and retain good people, although lately there's been, should we say there's probably been a flood of good people hitting the job market. Had an interesting conversation with someone earlier this week, and they said they had to make some changes in their employee ranks, and they said, "Yeah, we're hiring younger people because they're more willing to work harder than the ones that are older." Usually, you hear the opposite.
Right. Yes. Wow. Well, that's refreshing. That's definitely refreshing when you've heard, things about millennials or things about different generations that they're not hitting the standard or they don't work very hard. So, that's really refreshing.
That's been ongoing since you and I were kids.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
These kids don't have any drive. They don't have this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never as much, it's never as hard or as good of a product as what we produced. Um, so when you're thinking about how to take on a client, are there people that you just say, no, we're not going to go through this process because there's too many red flags here. We're not interested in taking on this potential sale. Is there ever just, nope, this isn't going to work?
Sure. Size is one thing.
Yeah.
We know the size businesses we want to work with.
Yeah.
We want to work with, we do, I'll start at the other end. We do not want to work with Main Street companies where the Main Street brokers are a better fit. We do not want to work where the true investment bankers work. So we're generally looking at companies that are worth about 5 to 15, 20 million.
Yeah.
Everyone in my industry, every attorney, every accountant says, well, we don't want a company smaller than X. We'll do it smaller than X. Especially, we say if it's a good referral source and it's an owner who is good person, honest, easy to work with, yeah, we'll go down a little. Going up for us is a little harder because we get referrals from investment banks.
Yeah. That makes sense. And so your background specifically, you said you got into this out of serendipity and being in the right place, right time, right conversation, right person. But what's your background that makes this kind of almost intuitive for you? It seems like it's just a natural thing for you.
Well, it's developed into that. Prior to this, I had been in a couple things doing sales, and I'd never been in sales. I caught my first real job out of college I grew up in the Midwest, was with the local concert promoter. I was there. I was the number 2 guy for quite a few years, and the owner wasn't that much older than me. And we also had the itch to move. My wife and I had both grown up in the same place. And so then I did some sales. I had never been in sales. I was buying things. I was a buyer. I was buying advertising and, catering services and other things. And then I got into sales. It took a while, but what I do now is probably a lot like you do. I don't sell.
Mm-hmm.
I build relationships and ask people questions.
Mm-hmm. And do you love that? Is that something you want to keep doing?
Yeah, that's one of the fun parts about it.
Mm-hmm.
What is also fun about what I do is and you take out what I do and you take out the helping of others, which is a big thing, is variety. My brain is not wired like an engineer who can work on the same project day in, day out, months at a time. Let's get this one section of the bridge done this next year. I can be talking to you. I just got off the phone with a prospective buyer of one of our clients. I may be analyzing something. I've got, marketing to do. I have to meet with a client for lunch, et cetera, et cetera. It's
the variety, the spice of life.
Yeah. I can focus deeply for a short period of time versus you wouldn't want a surgeon with my attention span. Some, especially the ones that have to do surgery for like 6-8 hours.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
a
no,
different
I've got my
brain.
45-minute zone.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's perfect. And if you were to mentor somebody who's interested in this kind of thing, looking for businesses that are looking to exit, what would you say about what you do and how it goes? Is there something you would offer, a piece of advice to someone coming in this kind of field?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say for many years, 2 or 3 times a year, I would, at our local SBA office, I would teach a class on growing an advisory business. And I put up slides and, uh, one of the first couple of slides would say, I am in, or you are in the blank business. And I go, well, what do you think? And they go, well, I'm in the financial services business, or I'm in the, green engineering business. And then the next slide would say, you're in the marketing business. And you may think you're a consultant or an advisor, and you may be, but if you don't have a client, you aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Starting, you have to market 100% of your time. There's nothing else you have to do.
Which is hard for people to grasp that concept when they think of themselves as the advisor or as the this.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to grasp that, and then hard for them to realize that it's always got to be a portion of their business no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, all my years, I really come down to the fact that a quarter to a third of your time needs to be marketing. And that could be hosting a podcast, being a guest on a podcast, writing, meeting people one-on-one, speaking to a group, going to, association meetings, all that kind of stuff. It's all marketing. It could be pro bono work for a nonprofit. It's all getting the word out.
Would you say that's true for almost any role, any business, that they have to have that quarter to a third of the time being in marketing? Like, thinking of all the businesses that you've helped exit, is that across the board, do you think?
Well, a lot of those businesses have marketing or salespeople.
Yeah.
So they have people doing that.
So it's already built into the business. It's already systematized for the business. Yep. Yep.
They may not do enough of it and then wonder why sales are sluggish, but
yes, exactly. Exactly. And then I always like to see this. I ask a question before we do our interview, and one of the questions is best piece of advice to others. And you have this paper on your desk. Can you share with us what it says on your paper on your desk?
yeah, it's right here in front of me under the computer, and it says to be aggressive, shameless, faster, and edgy.
Amazing. Why did you pick those?
Well, I got a bunch of it from a mentor, but it's right. If you're in services, if you're in any business, you got to be aggressive going for clients, customers. Shameless doesn't mean do bad things, just means don't be bashful about promoting yourself or your company or its products or services. They're worth bragging about, because they'll line, if you don't toot your own horn, there's no music. Faster. Faster. I was talking to someone today, and he said, I've talked to a bunch of people in your industry. I really appreciate you getting back to me so quickly. Nobody else does.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a commercial real estate broker, and he says the same thing. He says, I've had so many clients. They say I've called 3 or 4 brokers. You're the only one that returned my call. And
they've taken their time. Yeah.
Yeah. Edgy. Don't be afraid to go to the edge on what you do and point out what's being done wrong in places.
Mm-hmm.
I write a lot of articles and do things like that I just look at the news and say, this company did X, and don't you fall into the trap of doing X.
Yes. Well, and sometimes it's the hard thing to say. I know that I've been in positions many times when I'm advising a CEO or a corporation, and I realize that the thing I'm about to say, they may not like, and I could get, because I'm a consultant, I might get fired. And I realize that I'm not going to not say that thing. I have to say that thing, even if it risks me getting fired, because that's my role, is to say the hard things, have their back in a way that no one else will. And that to me is my version of what you've said, edgy, that just it has to be going to those edges if you're really going to be good at what you do.
Yeah, that's a good reason when you're in an advisor role like you or me is to get paid up front for that.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes.
You're billing in arrears and you're worried they're just say, hey, we don't want you, we're not paying you. But if you've been paid already,
Yeah.
but then it comes down to the relationship up front. If you're giving advice like you're giving, is to say, look, some of this thing may be touchy, but it'll be the truth.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And then the other thing, one of the other things I ask is, and I am always, I love to see what people put in this, and it's what's not in your bio. When we look at, the professional bio, what people are going to write in there, and you have an ongoing service project in the schools of Antigua and Barbuda. What lights you up about that?
Well, we started doing it many years ago and through grants from Rotary. And we've eventually ended up, we've done a couple other places, and I work with the local school district tech program, which is probably the best in Washington State by far. And they teach Cisco, Cisco to people to make all the networking equipment, and they teach a curriculum on, how to, for high school kids, on being network administrators and everything that goes into setting up. You got a building and you need Wi-Fi throughout the whole building. Someone's got to do that.
Yeah, someone needs to learn how to do that. Yep.
Yeah, AI is not going to put wires up. And we take 14 students every year. So we go to Antigua and Barbuda. We've donated well over 10,000 computers since we started there. The last 2 years, we've donated 1,500 each year. Laptops make it a lot easier than desktops. And we take students along, and they do the hard grunt work of putting Wi-Fi networks in schools and nonprofits. And it's been,
what's that like for the students?
Oh, change. For most of them, it's a life-changing experience. They get hosted by local families. They see a different culture.
Yeah.
They learn a little bit about giving back.
Yeah.
And they see that where they live, and in a very well-to-do suburb of Seattle, that there are big changes or big life change. There are different lifestyles and lives in a place on like a Caribbean island.
Yeah.
It's beautiful from the air and from the boats, and the beaches are wonderful. But when you get inland, and yet what's been really eye-opening for a lot of us has been these people, they may not have nearly as much as we have, but they are so happy.
Yes. Yes. It's not about the stuff. And that's the thing. It's such a contrast in life. And we spend all this time trying to attain and achieve. And yet the reason I wanted to point to this is that it still is going to come back to, what are we actually giving and contributing to the world? And if we can keep teaching or contributing in some way that gives back and helps others, that's often the most rewarding thing of all.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, John, I am very, very grateful to have had you on today and just be able to pick your brain a little bit about what you do. If people want to reach you, you are at www.nokomisadvisory.com. nokomisadvisory.com. And then you're also on LinkedIn with just your name, John Martinka. And I invite people to reach out to you. And the book, again, reminder, love this title, Exit with Grace, Style, Grace, and More Money. Love it, love it, love it.
Well, thank you. And if they mention this podcast, I'll send them a free e-copy of the book.
Amazing. That's so generous. And thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, you also.